Growing up in an alcoholic home as the oldest child, Tina lived through and cleaned up the aftermath of many late night parties her parents had. She learned to ignore the elephant in the room. As an adult, Tina had several moments where alcohol did not lead to the best decisions, and she always feared crossing the line into problem drinking or alcoholism itself. After 2 years of healing work, she's been a nurse practitioner and a health and wellness coach all along. She's now bringing that decision she made to be alcohol free into her practice to help others. Listen in to hear her personal story, what it was like, and what it's like now. Welcome to the Sober Living Stories podcast. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of sobriety. We shine a spotlight on individuals who have faced the challenges of alcoholism and addiction and are today living out their best lives sober. Each guest has experienced incredible transformation and are here to share their story with you. I'm Jessica Stepanovic, your host. Join me each week as guests from all walks of life share their stories to inspire and provide hope to those who need it most. Welcome to another episode of the Sober Living Stories podcast. Meet Tina Sasso, a family nurse practitioner and holistic wellness health coach. Today, she's going to share her personal story. We'll discuss her growing up in an alcoholic home to the point where she made her own decision to let go of alcohol. And we're going to hear about the freedom and growth she experienced from doing that. Welcome, Tina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jessica. I am so grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're on to hear the benefits of what this year's looked like, you being alcohol free. But I'm interested to hear your personal story. I know a lot of listeners can relate to growing up in an alcoholic home and some of the traits that you took on from that and how you took it in your adult life to heal from that. So let's just jump in. Take us as far back as you would like to go.
Thank you so much. So for me, I think when I think about sharing my story with this, it brings me back to when I was a little girl who would go to her bedroom. So my parents were young and they were alcoholic. Two of them are in recovery now. I have a stepdad and mom that are in recovery, and a dad who, drinks, but not excessively. But growing up, there was a lot of parties, every weekend was alcohol. There was also drugs involved. I was the oldest child. And so I would kind of, see the paraphernalia, see the drinks, see the mailbox, that was on the ground after a party night. And so just kind of cleaning up after all of that. But when I was a real little girl, memories that I don't remember clearly, I remember going in my bedroom and just playing music and just escaping because there was fighting. My dad would get really angry and violent when I was really little. And this was, I know, under 5 years old because my mom left when I was 5 years old. And so I know there was physical abuse and there was yelling and there was lots of negativity, obviously, that came with the alcohol. And so I remember just going to my room and closing the door. And just drowning it out with music. I also got into just dancing, when I was little. It was just an outlet for me. However, I also remember as I was a little bit older, about 12 years old, having younger siblings, I would just really I learned to make everything okay, to fix everything. Everything wasn't okay, but I was learning codependency at an early age. And I was, cleaning up after them. I was, making sure the younger ones were okay. So those times when there was parties like that, I would just be the one to kind of feel like it was my responsibility when it wasn't, at 12 years old. So those are some of the early memories I remember. And then as I got older, realizing now after some healing that I took that into relationships. So I went into choosing men who I could fix subconsciously. I didn't think about it that way, but looking at it now, I realized that's what I was doing.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah. So I hear about codependency time and again when a guest comes on. And I have never really looked at that in my own history, but now have been since hearing about it. And then, yeah, that's interesting how you took it into relationships. So, from your 12-year-old self, what did your teenage years look like?
Yeah, perfectionism.
Okay.
So as a teen, I was the one that, did really good in, I felt like that I could control how I did in school. Could control how well I did in dance. And so I would just pour myself into my studies. I was really, really hard on myself. I still can be. But perfectionism was my drug of choice at the time, as a teenager. So I just, yeah, I danced, I competed, I did well in school and in dance. Um, but looking back, I know now that I could control those things, even though I couldn't control the environment.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I often hear people can either, regardless of where you come from, if you grew up in an alcoholic home, I know some people take the direction of, copying what they've seen, and others take the direction of not doing anything and avoiding that at all costs. So it seems like, I never heard anybody speak of perfectionism as a drug of choice, but I can completely understand that. And I think that was really well said, and it will resonate with many people. So, going into after high school, what did it look like?
So after high school, I was introverted when I was younger and just kind of focused on school and dance and perfecting those things. And then when I went to college, it's like a switch. I was extroverted overnight. And I also did the things I said I wasn't going to do as far as partying and getting drunk. And every weekend I partied. Now I wasn't with men or those kind of things, but I would go with my girlfriends, I would dance and I would drink and I had a card. I was underage, they came and they cut the card so I could
Mhm.
go to the bars and I was, going at 19, 18, 19. I can't remember when I got it. I think I was 19, so 2 years before I legally should have been. Um, and I was partying every weekend.
Yeah, and it was like probably your first taste of like freedom from your home too, being at college. I know it was for me and kind of a similar. So throughout college, did it change? Did you flip it again back to academic
Uh,
excellence and all, or did you
I
follow a different path?
yeah, I still studied hard.
Mhm.
Looking back, it was harder because I was probably just like, dehydrated and sleep deprived and all the things that come with partying hard, but a little more resilient, that long ago.
Mhm.
Um, but I still worked hard in my grades. I think the perfectionism was always there. Um, but I also looking back, there was definitely problem drinking. I drank too much for many years on and off. Um, and I always feared as I got older, my 20s, my 30s, even into my 40s, that I always feared it being more than just, occasionally drinking too much, where I didn't, besides so much alcoholism in my family, my aunts, my
Yeah.
uncles, my parents, I always had that in the back of my mind, that fear, that worry about, you know, being an alcoholic,
Right. Sure,
and
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, they say it's a family disease, and that genetic predisposition is could be real and often is. So yeah, I can understand that fear. So how did that play out for you? Did that cause you to pull back, or did
No,
you
for many
continue
years.
to have problems with
Yeah,
that?
for many years, like it was always something that didn't affect my work or,
Mhm.
I became a nurse and then I became a nurse practitioner and you know, it never affected as far as how I did
Your
professionally.
professional life. Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
But
Hmm.
relationally, looking back, it did because I made many choices, partners, different things. I made many choices that weren't the best choices for me. And looking back, the common thread until the last couple of years, I didn't realize this, but the common thread was always alcohol. So
Okay.
it's what kept me back. It's what kept me to making bad choices. The thread was always just alcohol was the only thing I could come back to. That was the common thread.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what does it look like now for you? You know, you gave a good picture of where you came from, but I know that you recently made a decision to live alcohol free. So, how did you come up to that decision? Was there any turning point? Did anything happen, or did you just decide on your own, like, this is something I'm going to give a try?
Yeah, I think that um, throughout over the last few years, I'd been thinking about it. A few years ago, I was in a relationship that was not healthy. It was the last relationship I was in, and I was just really reflecting. And he was hiding drinking. He was, I'm pretty sure he's an alcoholic. And I found out, in that relationship. And during that time, I thought, wow, what for me? Like, how is this serving me or not serving me? But really, over the years, it's just been a cumulative thing. And then I started really the last 2 years as I was single, not in a relationship, just really doing a lot of healing work. Um, I was doing EMDR. I was going through another recovery program for healing from narcissistic abuse. And I was just doing a lot of self love and self care and healing. And in that process, I really got down to what is serving me in my life and what is not serving me. And the things that were not serving me, I was just letting go of one by one. So toxic relationships, um, negative self-talk, and then alcohol, I knew was one of those things that was the biggest thing really that I felt I needed to let go of for me to be my healthiest self. And for me, I
Mm-hmm.
have faith too. So it was what is going to help me live in line with the best that God has for me. My best
Yeah.
yes, there's a book,
Mm-hmm.
but to live my best yes and to live the best life that we don't, life is short. And, what is going to serve me for the remainder of my time here, and for
Yeah.
me, alcohol just was that thread that just I felt like I thought about it so many times over the years. I finally
Mm-hmm.
got to this point where I just needed to let go of everything that wasn't serving me. I also read a book called Euphoric, and that
Mm-hmm.
book I read that at a time when I was ready to really let go. And so, yeah, that was June 11th last year, coming up on a year, and I've never felt better. I'm
Wow,
so
that's
grateful
excellent.
for that decision.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Like sometimes books just like jump off the shelf. They're like, you have to read this and it helps change your life, you know? And I really commend you for, going to therapy, doing that work. I'm not familiar with EMDR, but I do have a friend that does that type of therapy. So, what is that type of therapy? Just briefly.
Yeah, so it's eye movement desensitization, reprogramming. And that's what it stands for. And basically, whether it's sound or, you can kind of follow a finger, or you can have the sound that beats in your ears back and forth. But the therapist, the trauma informed therapist, brings you back to a time where of trauma or just a really challenging time in your past, and
Mm-hmm.
then basically replaces those memories with empowering, strong, new memories.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're triggered or when something comes up in the going forward, you kind of have you're reprogrammed. Your brain is rewired in a way so that when you are exposed to that trigger or that memory or that situation or that environment again, you'll respond differently because you have replaced it with new memories and new thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. That's really good. And therapy too. Thank you for that because I was always curious about what that was. I had no idea. So everybody deserves to be in a healthy relationship, but oftentimes, we take things from our childhood or our past and we just choose incorrectly for many years, until we grow an awareness about why we were doing that and why we chose who we chose and make changes, based on the better version of who we're becoming. And, because I think everybody deserves to be free from, living out habits that hinder us and to become the best version of themselves, and I commend you for taking those steps to do that. I congratulate you on being alcohol free for as long as you have been. And it seems like it really was a great choice. And, you know, letting go of those toxic relationships, identifying what was hindering you, and then taking the action steps to do it.
Yes.
So the book Euphoric, I know that you had said prompted you. What were a couple things in that book that jumped out at you? If somebody
Oh,
wanted to, take it off the shelf and read
yeah,
it for themselves.
that's a good question because it's been so long since I read it. So for, um, I think just she gave a lot of grace throughout I'm big about grace,
Yes.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, really just giving yourself the grace and space to just be where you're at on your journey and not comparing and just, doing what's best for you, what serves you best. And so for me, throughout the book, she did talk about that. She said, whether this is something you decide to decrease your alcohol or there's something that you decide to ditch, for good, she kind of allows you to be where you're at through the book. So I just liked that. She talked about becoming present
Mm-hmm.
and really being able to join the moment, which I have been more aware of the last couple of years of just
Mm-hmm.
being in the moment and enjoying that. Because in the past, I've been so thinking about the past or worrying about the future and just really being in the moment. She also talks a lot about like just letting go of the shame um, and, you know, um, stepping into the best version of yourself, your best
Yeah.
health. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just a lot of what she talks about is something that kind of I already heard or resonated with or believed. But the way she put it together in this book and focused on ditching the alcohol was just the perfect combination for me and the perfect time for me to read it.
Yeah, I think great. Yeah, giving yourself grace and is so important. And also the present tense, with codependency, taking care of so many people or thinking that we have to and nobody even asked. Um, Also being perfectionist, those are a lot of, my friend says, tabs that are open in our brain, right? Like we have so many because we're responsible for so many things. And when you learn to not be, or as I'm learning not to be, nobody asked, I'm not responsible, everybody's responsible for their own lives, kind of like closes that up a little bit. And so we are able to focus better and show up as better versions of ourselves. And I really agree with that. So, what do you have for your future? Like, what is your hope for your newfound sobriety? Do you want to continue it? Is it something you're just taking by the day?
Yeah, so I love living an alcohol-free life, and I really believe that it's what I'm going to continue. At this point, I'm coming up on a year, but I really feel like at first I didn't want to say this is going to be forever.
Mhm.
I liked the idea of thinking like, yeah, this is just one day at a time, and I'm not sure if this is 3 months or 6 months or what is this going to be. But now that I'm coming up on a year and seeing all the benefits, which I can share in a minute, but like seeing all the benefits that I've had in my life because with letting go of that, um, I think for me, it's confirmation that this is the healthier life for me, that this is the best version of myself when I'm
Mhm.
not drinking. And, mocktails are really good. I've found, there's a lot of mocktails out there that
Yeah,
I can.
the world is definitely opening up for people who are not drinking,
Yes.
20 years ago, like, I don't know. I mean, it was just like drink your water and, find your place. And now there's non-alcoholic bars and just everything. And, I never went for that for the first decade. I just wasn't really interested. So I guess I was kind of scared to, yeah, because to me, I didn't want to glamorize it. Right. But other people today, they're like growing up in a new environment. So and they're finding that they are good with that. So it's really an individual choice. And
Yeah.
also tell us some of the benefits that you've experienced this year.
Yeah. So this past year, I am a, like you introduced, but a nurse practitioner and health coach. My desire really is to leave the clinic full time and to really have my own business. And so in with that, you need help and with letting go of alcohol, I really believe that it's helped me just really go after my dreams. And so I got a business coach I worked with for several months. I'm working a small group with another coach now. I just started with, and it really just taking steps into entrepreneurship, which I put off for years. Instead of coming home on a Friday night and having a glass of wine or two, I'm like, preparing for my small group health coaching, or I'm, writing an article for the Helpful Living magazine, or I'm doing things that are going to help move me forward instead of just numb me and, because I quote unquote need to relax.
Yeah, yeah. So you're replacing it with things that are creative, professional, you're like setting the groundwork for your online business. And that's really great. Because I think alcohol can do that. It can kind of make you stand still. It's like that old bar stool mentality. You're sitting there saying, I'm going to do this one day, and then it just never happens. You can write the article, but maybe it's not submitted and paid for, So I had that experience for many years. So I can
Yes.
understand that and relate. Yeah. So what else is another benefit? Have you had any physical benefits from putting down alcohol?
Yes. So brain fog, my gosh, the clarity, just less brain fog, more mental clarity, and confidence. Alcohol's a depressant, and it really can fuel, even though I've never been clinically depressed. I know that looking back, I mean, even just over a year ago, coming home, like I said, Friday night, I'm not, not in a relationship alone, having wine. I mean, I'd be crying. So I was
Right.
very emotional. So I'm less emotional. Have more clarity, less brain fog, more confidence, more energy. I mean, to work out, to take, to walk. I walk almost daily, and to just stay physically active. I'm also not as dehydrated because alcohol's dehydrating. So there's so many benefits physically, but energy, confidence, decreased brain fog, and then just less anxiety and depression. I mean, mental health can really take a
Yeah.
toll. Alcohol can take a toll on mental health.
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. I think a lot of times well, for myself, I thought it was helping me for so long. It's like, well, I can't put this down. I mean, this is the only thing I have while I'm so depressed or I have so much anxiety, not knowing that it was actually making it worse.
Yeah.
And so when we put it down, the increased confidence. It's scary, of course, to put a habit down that's been you seemingly think it's been helping you for so many years. But in order to move forward, I think we have to do things that are uncomfortable and things that are we're fearful of, and the benefits are so big, and brings you back to a life of meaning, productivity. So, and I think that you definitely said that you're experiencing all of that. So I'm so grateful that you came on and you shared your story. I think it was so impactful, and it's going to touch so many listeners. So can you tell us what you're going to be doing in the future, where people can connect with you during the week, and what you have coming up?
Yeah. So right now, I've actually been blessed with an opportunity to work with women in recovery, and I'm doing a small group health coaching program, and I'm really enjoying it. Where you can find me is right now, I'm working still on the website. So you can find me right now on my email address, which is hello@tinasasso.com. I'd like to also offer a free Shred 10 challenge. It's just a natural detox challenge. For anybody who's interested, you can just email me at hello@tinasasso.com. You can also
Okay.
find me, and I can connect you to the free private Facebook group called Tina Sasso Love Your Health.
Okay.
And so, yeah, if you can do that, that would be great. And then I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Could you
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about the free resource that you're going to be? I'll put it in the show notes and anybody can grab it.
yeah, so Shred 10 is a natural detox challenge. So it's the 10 is 10 days, but it's
Mhm.
also 10 habits that you can kind of, adhere to guidelines, but loosely, with grace. However, wherever you're at, like drinking more water, getting at least 7 hours of sleep, cutting out, refined sugars and processed foods, so there's a list of 10 things, and those those 10 things are in that shred 10. So I actually recorded 12 videos, an intro, 10 other videos, and a closing. And I don't have a neat little package with a bow on it yet, but I'm happy to send over on email to anybody that's interested and wants to follow along.
I'm definitely going to get that. I'm requesting that. I'll be requesting that right away. So I love that. I think that's great. Simple steps to for 10 days.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd love to have you back on when your website launches, when your health coach, takes off, because I really, this was such a positive conversation and I want to have more of those. So thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you back, and check out the show notes and find Tina on LinkedIn, Facebook, and everything that we had just spoke about. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Jessica, for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning into the Sober Living Stories podcast. If you have been inspired, consider subscribing and sharing with anyone who could use hope in their lives. Remember to stay tuned for more inspiring stories in the episodes to come. To view our featured author of the month or to become a guest yourself, visit www.jessicastepanovic.com.